Welcome to an overview of my planet creation tool. So with this tool, it is possible to create a planet-like terrain, as you can see here. I have a Earth-like planet and a moon sort of planet. So I'll do a quick run through of how you can get to this point, and then I'll show off what it looks like and how it works. Alright, so starting fresh in a new scene here, you'll first want to create an empty object. So over here we'll just create an empty. For the sake of this, we'll call it planet, because that's the best possible name we could probably come up with for this. Right, set the position to zeros, and we'll come out of game view as well. So I'll go into scene view. There you go. You can just see it. It's just there. It's an empty. Not much to show yet. So if I add the planet script to this planet script can also be found in scripts and planet creation. And it is there. You just want to drag and drop that onto the planet. Once you've got that added onto the planet, you still won't see much yet, but you see that we get a couple more options. So we get resolution, auto updating, so that's whether or not it will automatically update the planet's faces, or if you want it to click generate planet every time you want it to update something. You can have it render specific faces, because it's all made from a cube, and so on. You'll get the shape settings and the color settings in the middle. But as you can see, at the moment, there's nothing here. That's because we need to go into the settings folder, and we want to create a color setting. So we're going to call this planet color, and I'm going to make a new shape setting too, which is planet shape. This is just the names I'm using for my purposes. You can name these whatever you want. So in this planet, we're going to just drop in both of these. And as you can see, we get two new options here. I can just open up and drop down. I'm not going to mess with those just yet, as we're going to come back here, and we're going to go to our graphics tab, and we want to make a material, because as you can see, if I open up this one, there's no planet material yet. So you can see I've got my Earth-like and my Moon-like, but for the sake of this, we'll create a new material, and this will be utilizing my pre-set up shader graph, which is called planet here. So we're just gonna call this new material planet matte. Oh, if I can spell planet, that is. Just planet matte. You know, Matt's a pretty great guy. Go to planet. There we go. And there we go. So we now have this new material working with the shader from the shader graph that I've called planet. And now we've got that material here. So we're going to come back to our planet. We're just going to drag and drop this material into here. And that's about all we want to do here, other than we're going to increase this biomes to 1. That gives us this. In this gradient, I'm just going to throw this one in for now. This is my Earth-like gradient. Actually, just in here, I'm going to grab this. I'll explain why in a minute. But for now, we'll just leave that at that. Right. And we'll also give it an ocean color. There we go. Nice little ocean. Right. So that's all set up now. You don't have to do that. I'll explain through those in a minute. This is just going to make it look a little bit prettier for whilst I'm messing with it. So I can close all that down. Just close that down, close that down, close up my color. So now we're going to go to the planet shape settings. And the first thing we're going to do is increase this noise layers to 2. Immediately once I do that, you're going to see how it appears. And now that that's all set up right, I can go to this console and I can clear those errors. Those errors are no longer an issue. Don't have to worry about those. That's just because of a lot of it was missing, because we didn't have the different settings parts in, and we didn't have the material in, so it didn't have anything to reference to in the scripts. But now that those are in, it's all good. We're good to go. Before I forget, I'm also going to increase the resolution to around 200. Or if you want to work in full resolution, you can just render the top, or the front, or the back, considering we're at the back. Whoops. There we go. And I can now run it in full with little to no lag. This doesn't change much. The editor's not struggling because we're only rendering one face. For my sake, we're going to render them all, so it might take a little bit longer for certain things and it lag a little bit, but that's handleable. Right. So now in my noise layers, we're going to get to the actual part that makes this look like a planet. So we created 2 noise layers. We're just going to close these both down. There we go. Now in noise, this first element 0, we're going to enable it, and you can see how it's a simple filter type. We're going to ignore this first bit for now. This use first layer as mask. It's not useful. Doesn't matter, this is the first layer, so it's not going to make any difference to this layer. I can turn that on or off, it's not going to do anything. This, however, down here, will. We want filter type simple, right? And we want to make sure we're in the simple noise settings, not in the rigid ones, in the simple. In here, we have a number of layers. I'm going to increase that to 5, because 5 is a decent amount of layers to work with. That's just how many layers we get to work with and how complex this can now be. Essentially, it's the resolution of our noise layer. So we're going to increase the strength to not very high. We're going to leave it at like what, 0.1. 0.1 seems decent. Pretty low strength at the moment. We're just working with the base layer. We just want a little thing. Right, so as I increase this roughness, you're going to watch as the planet sort of starts to bulge. You see how it's becoming this weird, sort of golf ball-like shape, right? That's alright, that's normal. So we're just going to increase the strength for now. We'll increase the strength to 1 actually, because then you get to really see how weird a shape this is. There you go. So for the sake of this, we've got like this really weird shape. Right, so we want something that's not too heavy though yet. So just settle with a 0.87, I think. It's a weirdish shape for now. And we're going to increase our persistence before I mess with the roughness to 0.5. So that's a decent persistence. And you see how it just bulged bigger? So if I close that back down, yep. And then oh, whoops. There we go. Raise that up, it gets a little bit bigger. That's just because we're going to increase this roughness now. So by increasing this roughness here, we start to just increase the jaggedness of this shape. See how this shape just becomes more and more jagged. And it's doing more than it would because the strengths are high, but if I turn this strength down, it doesn't do an awful lot other than make the surface a bit more bumpy. A bit more rough. So we're going to increase this to a decent size and probably just mess with this a little bit more to get a nicer sort of number. Just going to raise the strength again. And yeah, we got a pretty messy thing. But whilst our strength is so low, that doesn't really matter. So we've got this weird little shape, and now it doesn't look like an awful lot yet. So that's fine. That's all good, right? And now we want to increase this minimum value just to take it down a bit, and you can see how it slowly takes the color of the planet. And the lower it gets, you can see the whites of the mountain tops sort of appear on it, and it's a little bit, to be honest, we're a little bit flat here. You see how you got a lot of the same colors going on. You got the colors of the mountains, and that's mostly because it's a very flat land, and these are just quite tall actually at the moment. So 1.1. You get these sort of island-looking things, but that's got a bit too much land there. So try 1.2. There we go, and we end up with this sort of Earth-looking bit. You got a nice big sea there. We got a nice bit of plenty of lands here, plenty of nice islands there, and sort of a bigger one there. I think that's a little bit. We got a little bit clumped together, so we can mess with this center stuff, right? And what that does is it won't mess with our noise, but it'll just move things around a little bit, and we can get something we like the look of. So we got that there, and there you go. They're a bit more evenly distributed now. You still got this big sea here, but you see how the islands are less clumped together now. You just mess around with that until we're happy with it. We don't have a north or a south pole though here, so I'm just going to keep messing with these numbers until I got something I like the look of. I'll stop messing with that now. We've got some nice mountains. They're a bit big, so we'll lower the strength a lot. There we go. Way lower strength. Now we haven't got the issue of these all being huge. But it does look a little bit flat at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to close off that element. We're going to open up our second element here. I'm going to enable this. And we're going to set this to rigid. So we've used the simple noise settings, we've messed with those, and we're just going to close those off. Those are done. Right off the bat, we're going to give this, I think it was 4 layers I think we want to give this one. Don't want to give it too many layers, but we want it to be somewhat thing. And this is essentially going to be our cliffs and valleys. So like all of our big structures. So like mountains and stuff. So it looks a little bit more natural, because you don't tend to get surrounded mountains. Those are more or less you get ridges that are created from like the water formations. So to make it a little bit more realistic, we should mess with this. So we'll start with the strength of like, I don't know, 3. We start with a strength of 3, just make it, oh, not 23. 3, just make it nice and big. There we go. You can definitely see what's going to happen here. So we'll increase our base roughness. Don't want to go too high with this, but we'll see. You can see how it really looks quite weird. So we'll go for like 1.5 at the moment. You see you get this really weird looking shape. That's just because our strength is so high at the moment. We'll leave it like that for now. And you can see this really weird thing. So if I increase the persistence to, 0.6 this time? Try a higher number. You see these ridges, and you can see they've got like little jagged edges, like sawtooth blade. So we're just going to increase the roughness here. So we're going to raise this up. And that won't do much yet. Because I've forgotten to do something. We want a weight multiplier. So if we increase this weight multiplier to, I don't know, 2.8, maybe 3, 0.3, there we go. So you get this, now these are less sawtooth blades, more just a jagged edge. And as I mess around with this roughness, it messes around with what the edge will look like. So if we just make this a nice, just make this until we're happy with how the edge looks. It's a little bit weird, but I'd say that's fine. And you can't really see how this is going to affect the planet though, so that's our issue right now, right? So we're going to make this min value 0.37 maybe? Yeah, you see how it's now gotten a bit lower. This min value just controls how high up it is. So if I lower it, it just goes inside. If I increase it, it goes into the planet. And it's lagging a little bit, but it's good. There you go, you get this weird, really weird looking thing. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna lower that a whole bunch to what, 3.7ish maybe 3.8. 3.7 might be a bit much. Oh, I've pressed 7 again. That's good. I'll lower the strength way down as well. Let's take this to a 0.1. There you go. You can see what these actually look like. These look a little bit more realistic now. Probably better to work with it this way actually. You see they get these weird ridges. And that's all well and good. But the problem is, they go right across the ocean and they kind of ignore the land that we already put there. Like you can see them working with it. So you got this island here's kind of been worked with. And this one here. But they completely ignore the fact that they just go all over the sea. So what we're going to do right here, so I'm going to focus on this island here, is I'm just going to click this button here that says use first layer as a mask. And when I click that, it's gone. Just looks like it's all been disappeared. I need to clear that. There we go. Looks like it's all just disappeared. So our issue is here, the strength isn't high enough. We've lowered the strength so much, it essentially just pushes it all down and makes sure that nothing will appear in the ocean. But because of that, this strength is now too low. So if we raise this to 3 again, what we had before, there you go. See how instantly it kind of appears, and you get these little islands, because these are just barely big enough to exist. So if I lower this a little bit more, you get this sort of thing where the islands are starting to appear, but they're not quite appearing. But you also get these. You get these little hills here. So if I lower that, see how that sinks back away? Just slowly. Come on. There you go, he sinks back away just out of there. Whereas whilst it's at 2.8ish, let's go for 8, I like 2.8, it's a nice number. You get these little sort of ridged areas and things that look more hill-like, like they've got valleys like there. You got these nice little hills that look more natural. You got this part that looks like a valley with a lake in the middle. The only issue is, right now, it doesn't look great because our main thing has like these big blemishes. So I'm going to mess with these numbers so they look a little bit prettier. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I've done a little bit of fiddling around with this planet's stuff. As you can see, the numbers are very different to what they were before. We've now got we've now got these sorts of, it's a little bit weird. We've got this little weird bit at top. This is like a very good example of how the valleys work, right? So you've got this big ridge here, goes all the way around, but you've got this nice little valley in the middle, right? This bit of area that looks like it has had water in it, and it's had water run through it. Same with over here, it's very flat. And you got these hills here, and you got this nice ridge here. So these are all very nice, and I can still move these around. I could just fiddle with this a little bit more. That'll do. That's not great, but yeah, that'll do. I'll give that a 3. There you go, you get this nice sort of like curve, circular area. I wonder what the rest of it looks like. It doesn't look too bad. That's usable. You got a nice ridge here. So we'll leave that as that is right now. We've got a fair bit of mass on the bottom, but we'll ignore that for now. So, you've got your planet made, and you got it made like this. And admittedly, it's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen. These little blemishes here don't look great. So, what we're now going to do is we're going to stop messing with this. And we'll go back to... Nope, I said stop messing with that. We'll go to our planet colors, and we'll start messing with this instead. So as I said previously, we've only added one biome, and it's got this gradient. And I'm not going to lie, this gradient's not the best. It's a pretty bog standard gradient. Pretty basic, pretty boring. Not a lot to it. And it's essentially just this hills and stuff. There's no... You haven't got an icy bit at the top, we haven't got a pole, we haven't got any deserts. There's nothing. It's just a very basic planet right now. As if there's no such thing as snow or winter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to increase this to 3. We're not going to do anything special, too special. But we're going to... Let's set this one to blue. No? Whoops. Set this one to blue. It's a nice blue colour. We don't want it to be invisible, so we're going to increase that. Don't know why these starters are invisible. It's annoying. We'll have this one be... This one will be our green area. You know, a nice green area. And we'll have our red. Our, like, reddy orange. So we'll have our orangish area there. And that's our tints. Let's just make these 100% tinted. Right? And you see how you can't see the other two. Right now. So we're going to increase this one's start. Sorry, not this one. We're going to increase this one's start height to around there. And this is showing the area that'll start at. There we go. So that's like this top area here. Maybe a little bit less than that. So 0.9. There you go. So it's just the very top. Right? And we've got this bit here. So this bit here is now going to be this middle band. So we want it to start at like 0.1. And there you go. You can see that blue is now just this little bottom bit here. So, with this, but it looks a little bit, it's very basic, right? This rim, it's not very natural, it's just a straight line. So we're going to mess with that a little bit, using the noise as well. So if we come into this, and we just increase our noise offset, increase our noise strength. So we increase our noise strength a bunch. Sorry, we didn't want to increase our noise offset yet. And you get this little sort of weird wiggly lines. I go through it. Now if we increase our noise offset a whole bunch, you can see that it starts to sort of make it out. I've probably increased the noise strength way too much. Way more than we wanted to, at least. Right? So you get this sort of weird, sort of more wiggly line. Jesus, this noise offset is a bit of a pain this time, actually. So we're going to make this strength... Make the strength 0.12. Nah, probably 0.2 actually. There we go. And you get this nice sort of blobby colour, blobby look, as if somebody like splattered some paint and it started to run down the side. Same with the bottom. You get this nice little blob sort of look. If I start to blend these, you see how the tints sort of blend into each other. That's what we want. We want that. We don't want it too blended, because obviously you blend it too much and the whole planet just starts to go that colour. You get these nice colours. These look really cool, but they're a bit too blended, because obviously you got this suggesting this is the icy area down here with the blue. That comes all the way up to like here, and it's affecting way too much of the planet. So we want this blend a little bit toned down. So I'll say a nice 0.2, 0.3. That's decent enough because it covers the area, so it still affects these bits, but it doesn't go too far. Same with the orange up here. So we've got a nice blend here, so I can turn off these tints now. Those tints are just to let us see where each area is going to affect. And now, based on our tint color, we're just going to change these. So I've already got a preset ice one, so I'll just set that to the ice thing. And now if I come down here, you can see we've got a nice little icy biome here. So you got our little Antarctica sort of thing. Is that in the south? Probably. You got this little sort of nice snowy biome, and it comes into this one here, and it slightly mixes with it, but it doesn't go all the way through, and it stops nicely. And now it looks a bit more frozen over there as well, instead of just this blemished ground, so it looks more natural. That's quite nice, I think. So you come up, and we'll go up to our northern point now. And now our northern point also wants to be changed. So we got this orange one. That's not orange enough, so let's just change that to our desert bit. And there you go. You get a nice big sort of desert area. Probably don't want the tips to be as yellow as that, so we'll fiddle with that a bit, should we? Should make this a dark, not a red, but a dark brown sort of colour. There you go. So you got these tips. So it's darker in the ocean. To be fair, we probably don't want it to be that dark. We probably want that actually to be a lighter colour, because that's a mixture of the ocean and the sea. So there-ish, right? You get this nice sort of desert looking area at the top, right? Now obviously I've set more of these up on my planet than on the other planet. I've set this a bit more intricately up, so instead of just having ice, dirt, normal one, and desert, I've got 2 ice biomes and a desert that runs through the middle like the equator. So you got like ice on the top, ice on the bottom, 2 of these green areas here and here, and right in the middle you've got this desert area as the equator sort of zone. But for the sake of this just shows off the 3 biomes that I've created. You can make these different for like alien planets and stuff, and obviously it doesn't have to look like Earth at all. This is the sake of making an Earth-like planet. You can get this nice sort of gradient going on, and you see how it sort of seeps into this one a bit. You get these deserty tones to this bit, but it's still this nice green area, or this sort of dried out green looking area. And if we want to mess with those a little bit more too, you can actually just apply this tint just a little bit to make the ocean look a little bit nicer. So just apply this tint just a small bit. As a matter of fact, this tint's probably not the right colour either, so we want to make this a nice icy white sort of blue. And the more I apply this tint, the more you see it get sort of washed out, so we're just going to apply it a small bit. Just a small amount, so maybe 0.25. And you get this nice sort of... The ocean doesn't look quite as dark down here anymore, or at least not around this area. Here it's a bit deeper. This sort of gives the illusion of the ocean being a bit deeper. So you get this nice bit of here. And up here, we're going to do the same. So we're going to get this nice sort of less harsh brown. So we're just going to choose this lighter sort of pale thing. Paler colour. Oh, whoops. But we're just going to increase the tint percentage again. And you see how it looks a little bit like more humid. It looks warmer up the top. Same as it does down south. To be fair, this probably wants to be a bit darker of a colour. There you go. So you get this darker bit of ocean here that looks a bit warmer. You know, we've warmed the colours up a bit, so it looks warmer up top and colder down the bottom. And that's that. So that if I just increase these areas as well, so they're not quite as small as they currently are. We don't want these to be as small as they are. There we go. Just get this really small. Got this really small band of green because there's not really many land masses over the green, so maybe didn't want them that big. But there you go. So you got this nice planet now. There we go. That's probably a bit of it. So you get nice big orange area at top. This big nice green band through the middle, and then you got this snowy bit at the bottom. So we're back in the original scene here. As you can see, we're back with the Earth-like planet and the moon planet. This moon planet, if I just go into this, you can see how it's just got a couple of different biomes. They're all kind of the same biome, but with tints applied and different levels of tint applied to them, basically, just to make them look darker or lighter, depending on where they are. They're all the exact same gradient, however. Our planet looks a bit nicer because I messed with the settings for the shader graph for the water, so the water looks a little bit more shiny, and I've messed with the tints a bit more on our Earth-like planet here. So here, but you can see our setup here with this sort of equator band of the more sandy area and your two north and south poles. As well as that, I made a very minor sort of testing out case with the script of a physics script, which just adds a rotation to the planet at the moment. The idea is these are eventually going to add sort of a gravity and the ability to have orbiting planets, hence the moon, but that's still a work in progress as of right now. So right now, these planets just spin around their axis. You got this nice little looking thing of this planet, and you can just fiddle around to your heart's content with this and make whatever you want. You can make any planet you could possibly want with this. Just keep fiddling with all the settings and growing it, changing it, and you get some really nice planets out of it. And anyways, thank you for watching. That is all.